Hey guys, RW here doing a little catching up. I just got a camera from one of my subscribers that records sound. Yay! Here's Venus the shop cat. Old Vivi disappeared for about a month. She came back, I guess about 10 days ago. I've been feeding her a can of tuna a day, along with the cat food and fresh water, and she has pretty much fattened back up. The only problem with having a cat in the shop, as you can see, is she's right in the middle of everything all the time. That's where she likes to be. So that could kind of be frustrating. I've been doing a lot of different things. I've got a video I'm going to upload later off of the iPod that shows a chassis I designed for a client, and it's a little bit different. It's kind of an interesting design. As you can see, this has a whole lot of shock mounting points from 75 degrees to 25 degrees so that he can play around and learn by changing his shock angles around. It also has a whole lot of upper link mounting options, okay, so that he can play around with squat, anti-squat, clock his axle back and forth and play around with that. It's got a fixed lower link. And it's a real simple design with basically just 5 pieces, 2 plates, a skid, and then the 2 top plates, and then cross braces to stiffen it. He was making it to fit a gigantic 4S 4500 milliamp hour LiFe battery, and a really big smash. Smash is huge. So I had to locate these things, and that of course does a lot of odd things to what you can get out of your chassis. But I did the best I could for him. I think he's happy with it. We'll find out. I mailed it out this morning. What I'm working on right now is repairing my venerable Redcat RS10 XT. Probably doesn't look much like any Redcat RS10 XT you guys have seen. It's got a custom chassis, but it is using the stock links, and I'm using some of the stock shocks. I got the RS10s in the front and some race shocks in the back, and I'm going to be designing a new chassis for this real soon, but I just want to get it repaired and play with. And I wanted to show you what happened last time I was crawling and why this happens. It's a pretty common thing. Once you start trying to get more steering angle, you clip these little stops off to get more steering angle. What you're doing is you're forcing the dog bone and the cup arrangement into a hard place, and what it'll do is it'll pop the dog bone out under stress. So here's the motor trying to spin, the wheel's bound up, it's turned all the way, bam, dog bone comes out the side. Once it starts rotating, it's putting a side force on this, so then if you were to try and also add some servo force to it, bam, it'll snap your axle. So obviously, that's why I spent so much time, as you've seen in some of my other videos, trying to come up with something that wasn't a dog bone, something that was a universal or a CVD, constant velocity. And so none of that worked out for me, so I went back to stock, and that's just what you end up with. The beauty of this is when you break an axle cover on this, it's $8.99 to replace it. The gearbox never goes bad. I've never had any problem with this gearbox. I've never stripped any gears in the gearbox. In the diff, there's a locker, and I can show you some tricks about how to make that last longer. You have to replace some parts in it to make it more sturdy, and I'll show you that once I get it open. But what I'm doing right now is basically I'm just inspecting all the damage and inspecting all the water damage, because I generally run this vehicle in the mud and the rain, and then I wash it off in the sink, and I don't spray it down with anything. And what happens, of course, is everything gets rusty and crusty and nasty, and that's why I'm taking everything apart, going to clean everything, lightly lubricate everything, put everything back together, replace all the parts that are worn. Like for instance, I have another drive cup here, brand new, okay, that I can replace this beat up one with, and I'll inspect the other one too. It's not a big deal repairing this sort of thing. It's just a matter of taking everything apart and putting everything back together, so that's not that exciting. But I just thought I'd explain why that's even happening. I'm running this on 3S now. These little motors are surprisingly strong with 3S power, and they will start breaking stuff. First thing they'll start breaking is that diff locker, and then as you can see they'll start snapping axles and stuff. Don't have much problem with the rear because the rear is locked out, but I have ripped this up many times, and there's ways to repair it and keep it going, but basically there's no hardened part to replace it with. Nobody has manufactured or come up with a part to replace it with, which is kind of silly, and I'm not a machinist so I can't. But right now I'm just taking this thing apart, and I'll show you more about that in a little bit. Vivi the cat.